Number 302 Polish Squadron, representing on different sides two different pilots, both of whom flew out of Duxford. To the port side, the markings of the aircraft flown by Flying Officer Julian Komalski, both of whom took off at 2:15 on the 15th of September 1940. Then it's our very welcome guest from the Czech Republic, the Hurricane 1 P3351 of the Letecké Muzeum Točna, the Točna Flying Museum, based at Točna in the Czech Republic. An aircraft that served as number 73 Squadron, part of the RAF's Advanced Air Striking Force in France, and participated in the closing days of the Battle of France. It flew several operational sorties from different sites in France, including Eschmoun, 73 Squadron's main advanced airfield northwest of Troyes, in both the Battle of France and the Battle of Britain. It saw its first combat just 2 days after the battle is officially deemed to have begun on the 12th of July. It then nosed over in a landing mishap and needed repair. It was allocated in September to number 32 Squadron by then at Accrington, flying North Sea patrol, but seeing no further combat. RAF assignment was to an operational training unit before its RAF career ended, but it then went to the Soviet Union and flew with the Soviet Air Force as one of the Hurricanes supplied to them under Lend-Lease. Much later, the wreckage was recovered from the Soviet Union, brought back to the UK for restoration by Hawker Restoration, the company that operations was prepared to fly to Poland. It then came back to Europe. In the ownership of Jan Frizo-Roth, based in Japan in France. Much more recently, it was bought in 2022 by the Letecké Muzeum Točna and given a major airframe over March. And it's painted as a Hurricane of number 310 Czechoslovak Squadron, based here at Duxford. And that's believed, that Hurricane, to be the sole airworthy aeroplane that flew in both the Battle of France and Operation Dynamo in Dunkirk. Evacuation involved the Dynamo controlled in Dunkirk. They have Hurricane R418, another Mark 1, and another Battle of Britain veteran, with number 605 Squadron, completing 49 sorties and shooting down or damaging 5 Luftwaffe aircraft, using UAV and Messerschmitt TF-110. This aeroplane subject to outstanding restoration to airworthiness the Bacta, today operated by James Brown of Cavalry, and shot down in his hands a Messerschmitt TF-110 on the 30th of August 1940. A 253 Squadron incident in the unit with which heavy target, about whom we were hearing earlier, served during the Battle of Britain. This aircraft also served Soviet again, later public restoration by Hawker Restoration, today owned by Jennifer Taylor, and operated in memory of Taylor and Dorcas Baker. Those then are 8 Hurricanes, which have captained the western end of the airfield. The most Hurricanes ever flown in the modern era, we believe, though we can't be entirely certain, since the early 1950s, up until now, has been 7. We hope no better than that by 1. They are on the roll. 8 Hawker Hurricanes.
That was a glorious day. The sun was shining from a cloudless sky, and there was hardly a breath of wind anywhere. Our squadron was going towards Southampton on patrol at 15,000 feet, when I saw 3 Junkers 88 bombers about 4 miles away, flying across our bows. I reported this to our squadron leader, and he replied, "Go after them with your section." So we swung round again and started to climb up to 18,000 feet over Southampton to rejoin our squadron. I was still a long way from the squadron when they were the loudest noises I had ever heard, and they had been made by 4 cannon shells from the Messerschmitt 110 hitting my machine. The first shell tore through the hood over my cockpit and sent splinters into my left eye, crashed into the cockpit and tore off my right trouser leg. The 4th shell struck the back of my left shoe. It shattered the heel of the shoe and made quite a mess of it. Then I started cursing myself for my carelessness. What a fool I'd been, I thought. What a fool. I was just thinking of jumping out when suddenly a Messerschmitt 110 whizzed underneath me and got right in my gun sight. Fortunately, no damage had been done to my windscreen before sight, and when I was set for a fight. I pressed the gun button, but the Messerschmitt was in nice range. He was going like my escape the heat, I suppose. Well, I gave the Hun all I had, and the last I hit my head against the framework of the hood, which was all that was left. I cursed myself for a fool, pulled the hood back, wasn't I relieved when it clipped that beautifully, and jumped up again. Once again I bounced back into my seat. One of them snapped, so I had only 3 to undo. And I left the machine. Immediately I started somersault diving headfirst for the ground. After a second or then an aircraft, a Messerschmitt I afterwards heard, came tearing past me. I decided to pretend that I was dead, and hung limp there by the parachute strap. The Messerschmitt came back once, and I kept my eyes closed. But I didn't get the bullets I was half expecting. We went down together in the dive. First he turned left, then right, then left and right again. He did 3 turns to the right when I first saw him. "I'll teach you some manners, you Hun." And I shouted other things as well. I knew I was getting him nearly all the time I was firing. By this time it was pretty hot inside my machine from the burst petrol tank. I couldn't see much flame, but I reckon it was there all right. I remember looking once at my left hand.
The largest modern gathering of this most crucial fighter of the Battle of Britain. Duxford with Aerial Collective, and from White Waltham with Ultimate Aerobatics. The first in to land, and the rest will follow. We will be seeing 7 of these 8 aircraft airborne again later, hopefully, as part of the big wing to close the show. The unfortunately has to leave early due to concerns about the weather intervening in getting home. What a magnificent sight as the aircraft stream into land as well. The Warbird experiences Hurricane. And then the very welcome return, after a few years' absence, of the historic aircraft collections Hurricane, which is the one that next year is expected to fly to Poland as part of the Polish Heritage Flight initiative, hence the Polish squadron markings on both sides of the aeroplane depicting, as I mentioned, different pilots, and the Polish Heritage Flight have got a presence here on the ground and will be very grateful of your support in that commemorative endeavour now scheduled. And last into land will be the Battle of Britain veteran Mark I of Hurricane Heritage. And our thanks to the pilots who flew that unprecedented Hurricane display for you today, and in so doing made a little bit. And following on from him, we had Andy Monk, Trevor Duggan, Dan Griffith, Dave Harvey, Alex Smee, Matt Pettit and James Brown, our 8th Hurricane pilots in our opening salute of the Battle of Britain. Now, what's Duxford got to do with the Battle of Britain? Well, RAF 11, 12 and 13, Duxford was part of number 12 group, which took in the East Coast and the Midlands, and it was a sector station. That's one of the key bases within each group from which the fighter defences were controlled directly. We can see evidence of that in the sector operations room, which is preserved as part of the museum here. And it's worth recalling that Duxford's legendary station commander during the battle, Group Captain A.B. Woody Woodhall, was himself a fighter controller. Information on potential intruders to British airspace would be passed on from the Chain Home radar stations to Fighter Command headquarters, and WAC, members of the Williams Auxiliary Air Force, would chart the progress of German raids and the positions of RAF fighters of the battle. Was the Messerschmitt Bf-109, the endurance of which wasn't great. They could manage just a few minutes dogfighting over British soil. The longer range Messerschmitt Bf-110 twin engine fighters, meanwhile, didn't have such a problem in terms